Hi, welcome to the August episode of Vegetables Matter. This is episode 10. Yeah, I can't believe I've been doing it for so long. I definitely still feel like I'm just figuring out how to make it happen, how to actually, I don't know. I feel like I'm still figuring out lots of stuff with it. But this is a craft cast about my fiber life. In this episode, well, my life is a little bit crazy right now. I got a new job, and that's just been quite an adjustment. Yeah, I don't have as much time. I'm working full time now. Got like a pokey thing out here somewhere. I don't know. I don't know. It's been quite an adjustment, and I'm still just figuring out how to do my job and have a life and not just be a bureaucrat. Yeah, so still figuring that out. I've been wondering if I am going to have the stamina to continue filming. I was kind of thinking that maybe there was just so much going on that this wasn't going to be a priority, but then it's happening. So I know I'm not going to be able to edit this probably until next week, but I thought, okay, I've got a little bit of time this morning. I'm going to at least get it filmed. So yeah, here we are. Yeah, again, I really have been doing very little fiber-wise. It was fun to do the Tour de Fleece and to try to participate in that as much as I could. There have been so many projects that I've wanted to get involved, to get started in, or to get finished. And then the Tour de Fleece just kind of came along, and I decided to do that instead. And it was actually good, I think, just to really focus a little bit more on spinning, which I think can be a little bit more relaxing than some other projects. I think I kind of needed that, and I just haven't really had the brain space to, take on finishing my weaving project. Well, the weaving's finished, but I need to sew it into a shirt now. I just don't have the time or energy to really undertake that. And it's been nice just to, even if I only have 5 minutes, just to sit down at the wheel and do a little bit of spinning. So that's kind of been, I've just, just where I am right now, that's kind of what I've been doing. So in this episode, that's really mostly what we talk about, spinning and gardening stuff. It's, what's today, August 8th, so, it's really the beginning of that harvest time, so I do talk a little bit about the garden as well. So let's get started. Was it just a few times ago, after I went to the Great Basin Fiber Arts Fair in May, I got a fleece there, a Rommeldale fleece, which is on the Livestock Conservancy's rare breeds. And I got a giant, like 8.6-pound fleece, and then last month I took it up to Spinderellas to get it spun into a few different things, along with some Icelandic that I had, and I have that stuff back. So I'm going to share that first. I guess first I'll just say this is some stuff that I had processed by Spinderellas, which is a local fiber mill to me. I'm in Utah, and the mill's up in Salt Lake. So this was some Icelandic that I had gotten processed into this Lopi yarn, this kind of larger Lopi. And as soon as I got this back, I just thought it was so gorgeous. I love this color. And I thought, oh my gosh, I really want to make an Icelandic sweater with it, but I need a contrast color, and I was like, oh, I should do something white, and then I can dye it and have a really gorgeous yoke. So I'd been keeping my eye out for fleece for that, and I ended up buying a fleece off of someone that I met at my garden center. She raised Icelandic sheep. It came out, and anyway, so I stopped by and got some stuff from her. It was really heavy in the VM. I got out a lot of it, but there was still a lot. I probably paid too much for this fleece, but I kind of already offered a certain amount that I had paid for some really pristine fleeces before, and then I just ended up giving it to her. Anyway, whatever. I have it now, and so I have about 2 pounds of this. I think these skeins are quite large. I think I'll break them up into some smaller pieces and do some dyeing with it. There's a chance I would keep it natural. I envision doing a few different colors and trying something like that. We'll see, but this is ready to go now, well, except for the dyeing, but I'm really excited to have the next step in this. And hopefully this winter I can start working on this sweater, is the idea. So really happy about that. Okay, and then the Rommeldale fleece that I was talking about before. So what I did is I saved out about, I don't know, I didn't have a scale, but probably about 2 pounds of it to keep for myself, to process myself. And then I brought the rest up to her. There have been 2 projects that I've been wanting to do, and so I had her make yarn specifically for each of these projects. So one of them is a pair of pants for myself. The pattern is New Pants in Town by Pickles Design. Sorry, I don't have a picture. When I'm actually working on it, I'll tell you more about it, but just a preview. And so that is this. This is kind of this oatmeal-ish color, the Rommeldale. Yeah. And it is like a 2-ply fingering weight, I want to say. Yeah, I've got a lot of this. All of these I have about 2 pounds of. This one I know is definitely more than 2 pounds, and then it's, you know, obviously finer, and so there's definitely a lot of yardage of this one. Yeah, so I have this ready to go. I don't know if I'll dye it or not. I do think it could be fun to do like an indigo bath and really have like pants dyed with indigo. That would be cool. And then, what's that? Random fluff. What is that? Oh, that's from some stuff down below. I forgot about that. Okay. And then the other thing is going to look pretty similar to you. What is it? These two. This is more of a worsted weight. It seems a little thinner than a worsted weight. Well, parts of it are worsted weight. Parts of it are thinner. And this is for a sweater I want to make for my husband called the Robin Hoodie. And again, when I'm actually working on that, I will give more info and pictures and stuff. But I've been really wanting to make him that for a long time, a sweater for a long time. I've had different ideas about which sweater. That's been thwarted. I wanted it to all be hand spun, but the dye bath that happened with it didn't work out. So I will definitely be dyeing this a green color, and then the Robin Hoodie it just has these really beautiful cables, and it has a hood. It's going to be a great sweater, so I'm excited to have this for him. And I have a little less than 2 pounds of this one, so plenty of that. When I was was kind of unloading all this yarn that I had, my thought, or as I had it all, I was just like, oh my gosh, it's like I have my own yarn shop. So that was cool, because I haven't always had large quantities of yarn, and now I do, and that's fun. Okay, so that is the stuff from Spinderellas. Sorry, let me move this stuff out of this basket. And we'll go on to the Handspun. So when we last left off, I had all 3 of my wheels in action. I haven't done any more with the hemp. That wheel has been having issues, and I just haven't really wanted to deal with it. It's too bad, though, because I would like to keep working on that hemp. I have done more with the cotton, although at a certain point, I don't know, I just kind of kept going to my Ashford Traditional for comfort. Because what was I doing? Oh yeah, so I think I had spun up all of this alpaca as singles, and then I was going to ply it. So obviously got that plied up. It is beautiful. This is the last of the yarn for my sister to work on her poncho. She's been having a great time with it. I don't have like more progress pictures from her, but she doesn't have this one yet either, so she can't quite get fully into it yet either. But I know she's been really enjoying it and just loving knitting, which is really fun. We got her. Yeah. So this is that last for her. Woohoo! Then after that, after I finished that up, I again just wanted to do some more on the Ashford Traditional, and so I looked around and I had this roving that I had dyed with Dock, which I showed a couple episodes ago. This was a fermentation dye bath with Dock, and it's this beautiful orange. This is Lincoln long wool, and anyway, so I just spun it into these singles. Ugh, again, you're not getting the color. It's a little better out here. If I do this, oh gosh, I don't know. It's a gorgeous orange. It's a really, really cool color. You can't quite see it. Yeah, I think it's super beautiful. So this matches 3 others that I had done back in February. I showed them around Valentine's Day. This is all Lincoln, and I kind of thought, oh, in the future I could do something with them, maybe for Valentine's Day or something. Oh gosh. Yeah, so this is kind of this collection. They're all singles still. I don't know that I'll keep them that way, but I just thought until I know what I want to make of them, I am going to keep them that way. So yeah, to add to this little collection. Ta-da! I cannot do this. Ta-da! Quickly, this one is cochineal dock fermented dye bath. This one is some rock tripe lichen, and actually bringing this stuff out, I realized, ooh, my lichen, I think, is probably in a better place to do another dye bath to get like some more vibrant pinks and purples, and so I think I should do that pretty soon. And then this one is fermentation dye bath with some fruit tree bark. It really changed the texture of the wool. It's rather coarse now. I don't know if I just like left it in for too long or something. Anyway, it's quite coarse, and I wondered if that would be the case with fermentation in general. This is not that way at all, so that's really good. This one still feels nice. I mean, it's a long wool, so it's not like crazy soft, but this one's cool. This one, yeah, this one's quite coarse. Yeah. So there's that. The other thing I wanted to share is I got a little letter package thing from Meghan in North Carolina, who is an amazing fiber artist, and she had a few little samples for me with some really cool spinning techniques. So I meant to share them last time, and then I didn't. So she sent these 2 samples. Let's talk about this one first, because she does. So this, it's a little tweedy. You can kind of see some little flakes of turquoise and like a red. Can you see that? Yeah, there's some red. There's little turquoise bits, and then kind of this base brown color. So she recently finished up some slippers out of the turquoise and red, and had known about this technique, and so finally had some yarn to use for it that she felt okay cutting up. So, because you have to cut up yarn, so you need some yarn scraps. So like cutting up those yarn scraps, and then I think having like the base brown, which is, both of these techniques she learned from Martha Owen, who also lives out in North Carolina, and Meghan is friends with her out there. And so the brown I know is from Martha's sheep. So, and then she hand carded this stuff together to get like a tweedy effect. And obviously you can card it more or less to get more or less tweedy effect. Obviously the less you card it, the more tweedy it will be. So I thought that was just a really interesting, fun technique to share, and it really, you know, just kind of the first thing that popped into my head is just, you know, when you have loom waste after weaving certain types of yeah, after weaving, you generally have loom waste. And so then being able to use those scraps, because sometimes it's pretty heartbreaking to be like, oh, what do I do with these now? This is like this awesome yarn or awesome fiber, and I don't just want it to go to waste. So I thought this was a really cool technique to use up that and to make some beautiful tweed. So yeah, thanks for the tip. Okay, this one, and it was really cool because when she first sent these, you know, I was kind of looking at them before I read, and I was just like, huh, it's such an interesting ply. Like it's not what you know, it's not how yarn normally looks when it gets plied together. And then I read about it, and it's a faux ply. So what she did is the black here is spun up into singles, and then this yellow and pink, which she said is dyed with probably cochineal and marigold. Is that right? Definitely marigold. But is that? Oh, that's it. It's not cochineal. It's madder. Madder and marigold is what she's thinking. And again, this stuff, the black is not, but the marigold and madder stuff is also from Martha's sheep. So she had the black spun into singles, and then, you know, she went back and to ply, she, you know, had the singles, and then she just had unspun yarn and just plied it together that way. So yeah, a cool, interesting technique. She says, you know, depending on how you prepare the unspun stuff, you can get really different techniques. She said this stuff was really not prepared, just kind of like fluffed out a little bit, but she's used roving as well, and it looks quite different. So anyway, something fun to play around with at some point. And then she just sent two other little things that I'll share. One, I guess I was just pretty proud of, because she had sent this little sample, and you know, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, that looks like copper. And yeah, it's a copper and ammonia dye bath. I don't know if you can see it, so maybe it's not so obvious and apparent, but that was just really fun to be like, oh, that looks like copper, and then it was. And then here's another little sample of some Icelandic. So she was going to be working with these two, I think, together. She was taking a triangle loom workshop, and I think was going to use these together, which looks really beautiful together. I'd like to see how that turned out. Megan, send me a picture. Cool. Yeah, thanks, Megan. That was really fun. She says that she thinks that I am like more advanced than her in fiber stuff, and then I teach her all this stuff, and I just want to say I totally feel the opposite. So I'm constantly learning really awesome stuff from her. Okay, next thing is also a Meghan related thing. This was at the very end of the Tour de Fleece. I guess I maybe should have done it first. Oh well, we're good. So at the end of the Tour de Fleece, like maybe the last day or something, I'd finished up that dock, and I was wanting to do just a little bit more, and I've had about 6 ounces of some Gulf Coast native, or Piney Woods native, that Meghan gave me. She had washed it, and she, when she was out visiting one time, she gave that to me. And I've been really wanting to work on it. I think I mentioned a while ago that I've been wanting to do a fleece artist shawl thingy, which it's really encouraging you to use like a lot of different sheep breeds with it and just experiment and play. And I would really like to use this in a project like that. So I had it and I carded it up, and I have these beautiful bats. This one I've already started spinning with, but yeah, I've got, I think, about 6 bats, so I think each bat must be about 1 ounce. They're really beautiful. I was thinking that maybe I would run them through the drum carder twice, which is something that you hear you're supposed to do, and I never do. They just came out so beautiful, I didn't. But I've started spinning it. I don't have a lot yet, but here's a picture of it. It's been really lovely to spin. Oh, I've really enjoyed it. It still has some nice lanolin in it. It's just been really nice. On the Livestock Conservancy's rare and endangered breeds, they have a number of different categories, and like the most critical, maybe they just call it critical, I think there's just like 2 or 3 breeds, and Gulf Coast Native is on that. So it's in that highest category. So it's really fun to work with. I don't know why it's so critical, because it's just lovely. And it also even says, after I carded this up, I did just do a little bit of research about the breed. Really cool, just kind of really good for that more hot, humid area, you know, Gulf Coast area. It developed pretty naturally. It was when sheep were more just free roaming, and it just kind of naturally evolved more and more for that climate. It's one of the only sheep that doesn't have like fur, fleece, I don't know what you call it when it's on them, hair. I mean, I think it does have a little bit, but it doesn't have stuff on its face or underbelly or legs, because it's just too hot in that area. So that just kind of naturally started happening with it. It's really nice. It's quite soft. I like it. I really, really like it. Oh, but as I'm spinning it, I am being a little bit picky, you know, because, like, sure, this turned out nice, but there are, like, some little funky parts in it still. And so I'm just spinning the nice stuff, and then kind of when I get to the stuff that's not as good, I'm putting that aside, and I think I will card it again. So, which I haven't really done that before, and so I'm pleased with both options, to not do the whole thing through the drum carder a second time, but then to save out chunks of it to do again. It's been a fun process. So yeah, again, thank you, Megan. It's been really fun to work with. With that, I did want to talk a little bit more about the Rommeldale. This stuff was super nice and beautiful. Like the fleece itself, it was just like really dreamy, you know, smelled so good and sheepy. And I have to confess to being a little bit disappointed with the yarn that came from it. When Lynn from Spinderellas washes it, she like strips out all of the lanolin. Like there's none left in here. And I don't know, I can just kind of like smell the soap instead of a sheep. Like it doesn't smell like a sheep anymore. And it's not nearly as soft. You know, I think the lanolin really, really kind of helped soften it. So I have to, yeah, I am just a little bit disappointed in it. It's okay, you know, it's this yarn, but I'm really pleased that I pulled aside about 2 pounds of it to process myself, and I definitely want to keep a lot more lanolin in that stuff and process that. So yeah, I think that's kind of it for the fiber journey this time. Yeah. Next up, garden. I finished harvesting the last apricots on my apricot tree today. I've also been beginning to harvest the peach tree, and I also harvested all the nectarines today. So I have this lovely bowl of those 3 fruits. I've had tons more apricots. I've been freezing a lot, eating tons. Also yesterday, Annie and I went down to a neighbor's yard. There's been just a sign outside saying, you know, free apricots, you pick them. So we went down and climbed the tree and laid out a tarp and shook some branches, and we didn't get tons, but we got, I don't know, we got like maybe half of a 5-gallon bucket, maybe not quite half. And then we washed them and pitted them and blended them all up, and the plan is to make some fruit leather with them. I borrowed a dehydrator from my friend yesterday. I was really wanting to get that going this morning, but I do have to go to work, and I just am not going to be able to keep an eye on it and make sure to stop it when it needs to get stopped. So unfortunately, I can't really get started on that. I'm a little bit nervous because there's just no time. Yeah. No, I mean like a chunk of like 5 to 8 hours where I'm not like, yeah, that's going to be hard. Really hard. So anyway, but it's ready to go, so hopefully I can get that. I did sneak a little bit of it. We had some pancakes this morning, and I thought, oh, I should just have some of this fresh apricot nectar, so that was fun to use up a little bit of it that way, but I really want to make lots of fruit leather with it as well. Other garden stuff, I did harvest my first tomato. That was in that bowl as well. It's not 100% ripe, although, oh my gosh, it smells so good. It really is at this point. I picked it yesterday. My tomato plants are in some grow boxes in the backyard, which means that the chickens have access to them. When I first planted the grow boxes this spring, I did peas, so I did them pretty early. Sorry, I'm checking out Lupa. She's been jumping the fence over there. Lupa, come here. Good girl. She's such a stinker. She already jumped once this morning. Where are you? Outside? Hi. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so when I first planted the grow boxes this spring, and actually my mom was in town and she helped me with that, we planted peas in them, and the chickens didn't let that happen. They think that pea plants are delicious, and I never saw anything from them because they would just peck them as soon as they came up. When I finally gave up on that and thought, okay, what can I do that the chicks will leave alone? I thought, okay, they probably will leave tomatoes alone. The tomato plants alone. So I planted the tomatoes, and when I was doing that, you know, I was finding the old pea plants and just seeing how the chicks had totally decimated them. Hey, Lupa. You want to come join? Mwah. Sweet girl. So it was such a good idea to do the tomatoes. The chicks haven't bothered them, but I forgot that of course they're going to bother the fruit. They love tomatoes. They do. So I've been really lucky so far in that, you know, as they were turning red, I thought, oh, the chicks are going to eat them, and they kept not, and they kept not, and they kept not. And yesterday I was like, I'm just going to grab this one before before they do. I don't want to push my luck too much. So I grabbed 2 of them, and then this morning when I looked, there was a 3rd one that I hadn't picked, and the chicks got to it. So anyway. Oh yeah, speaking of chickens and birds then, I guess, you probably noticed that there are a lot of these that have bird eatings out of them. They hadn't before. Like, I definitely had a lot of like holes and stuff from different critters eating things, earwigs, and there's been this green beetle this year that has been all over the place. So I've been, you know, having to kind of deal with that, but it wasn't until today that I noticed like all of these bird stuff. So I picked the last of the apricots, and they were pretty much all bird eaten. In fact, there were a lot fewer than I thought there had been. I think they might have gotten more than I think. So I was a little bit upset at that at first, and then I was just like, oh, it's kind of fun to share with the birds. And I was just looking at, like, look at how cute these little nibbles are. You can just see those beak marks so clearly, especially over here. Look at that. Isn't that cool? There's another one too on the peach. I don't know. Yeah, so sharing with the birds. Oh yeah, I started eating one too. It's delicious. The peaches are really small. It's the first year the peach tree has produced. The apricot tree as well, it's the first time. The nectarine tree produced last year as well, and it probably produced more, but they were small. Whereas this year, you know, they're pretty good sized. So, and oh my gosh, these nectarines are so delicious. Anyway, I had been really kind of beating myself up a little bit this year, just with garden stuff. I was just feeling, I don't know, like my squash plants are not doing well, and my pepper plants, they're just like tiny still, and everyone else, you know, I ride around, and you know, I just see like gorgeous squash plants like doing amazing things all over, and I'm just like, oh, my garden sucks. Anyway, I finally had like a turnaround where I was just like, just a sec, no, like I had an amazing garlic harvest this year. I mean, yeah, a really good, I'm really pleased with my garlic harvest. I meant to mention it last time and I forgot to, so here it is. Garlic harvest. This video that I'm inserting here, this is just the stuff that I'm going to use. I've already taken aside all of the ones that I want to plant with, so like really the even bigger bulbs and stuff. So yeah, really pleased with the garlic harvest. Been getting lots of onions. And just, you know, like, okay, sure, my squash and peppers aren't doing great, but look, like these, like I have trees that I planted years ago, and they're like, more and more they're beginning to produce fruit, and it's like, I don't know, things are coming to fruition. So yeah, just feeling like, okay, stop beating yourself up, it's okay. Things are producing for the first time. I've been trying for grapes for years. The first year I tried these cuttings, and they almost all died, and then the neighbors, stuff didn't work out. And anyway, so that didn't work. And then I planted, and I think, did they both die or one of them died? Like some stuff that I just got at the garden center. Anyway, I've just been like trying and trying and trying. And finally this year, both of the ones that I had last year, one of them started 2 years ago, and the other one I planted last year. And anyway, I'm finally going to get, not tons, but a few grapes this year. You know, just things are beginning to establish more. So it's okay. Not everything has to be wild success all the time, you know, just some things work, some things don't, and that's okay. I am really grateful that I'm not in a position where I have to rely on my garden to feed me. We're very fortunate for that. Yeah, that it doesn't have to be stressful in that way. So there are good things happening, even if there are some failures in there too. Oh, last thing I wanted to say about the garden is I've planted Hopi sunflower seeds this year. Hopi black sunflowers this year, and I have my first bloom from that. Yesterday morning I was out checking it out, and there were these 2 bees. One of them was, you know, kind of a more normal sized bee, and one was this really tiny bee, and they were just delighting in the pollen and kind of dancing and frolicking. By the time I grabbed the camera, they were much more still the one seemed like it just was like going to sleep. It was just like, okay, that was really fun now. Like I'm conked out. It felt like it was in a poppy field or something. Really cute. So there were those two bees that were just kind of hanging out there. And it was just cool to see the diversity, just like, wow, creating space for biodiversity is important rather than just having a big lawn everywhere. Oh yeah, so there were the two bees, and then all of a sudden this like little spider dropped in with them, was like hanging out with them too for a minute. So that was really fun to see those things. Yeah, I'm excited. Lots more little flower heads that will be opening up in the coming weeks or something. So really excited about that part of the garden as well. Okay, that's everything for this episode. Great to see you. Great to get this little one in. Ciao.